Hey, cabin lovers, have I got an episode for you? I had the awesome honor of getting to interview Warren about his log house, a house that I have fallen in love with, and I know thousands of people have too, because every time I share this house on social media, it goes viral. His story starts with a dream, just like all of us. As he puts it, there wasn't really anything fancy about he and his wife's life. They were just two people who made the dream come true. I told Warren in our interview that I have his house as the backdrop on my computer because I love it so much. But now I love it even more after hearing the personalized touches and little details about how this house came to be, how his dream came to be. Join me now, and when you're done, click the link in the show notes to visit the website to see pictures of this house. Hey, and remember, this episode is sponsored by Caribou Creek Log Homes. Okay, well, this is just a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for giving us your time and gracing us with your story. I'm just so thrilled about hearing the story of your house and how it came to be. So if you could please just start by telling us a little bit about, you and kind of when did you start wanting to live in a log home and how did your dream come to fruition? And just please, let's hear about your beautiful log house.
Yeah, I think it all started as a little kid. I've always loved nature and the outdoors, hunting and fishing. And I remember I was thinking about this. Grizzly Adams was like a first connection to real wildlife and remoteness, and that came out when I was a little kid. And it was like one of the first movies I saw in a movie theater. And him living in his old little log cabin in the very remote wilderness is probably the first thought process that really interested me in it. And then along, as I got older, it was always kind of the dream to live in a log house in the woods. I even wrote it down. I was in the Army, and went to the Army just for a few years, knowing that was just a transition piece of my life to get my Army college fund and GI Bill, and was homesick and thinking about what's beyond this, what's my dream. And I wrote it down. I wrote down that I wanted to live in a log home on 100 acres with a mile-long driveway. That was my goal. I wrote that down. I was about 19 years old, and always kind of was with me. And I got married to my wife Julie, and her parents lived in Northwest Montana, a place called the Yak. Not too many people know where that is. You might know where it is. But they lived on a ranch up there. They were caretakers of a ranch. And every building up there, every home, shed, shop, garage, they're all log. And that kind of really sparked it in me to really start thinking about that dream again. And we would go up there for every vacation possible, whether it be Christmas time or our summers, and was talking to everybody about log homes and how they got them built, and really started that dream. We would buy log home magazines before we'd go up there to visit, and we would talk through all of the different amenities we'd like, and I actually started drawing the design on the visits, and really would get it in high gear and draft those designs while we're up there, and I kind of kept that going. And it took about 10 years before we felt like we were ready to be able to take the plunge, and got serious about it, and started the steps to make it happen.
Well, I suppose it's true what they say, that a written dream is more likely. I think they say it's 30 or 40% more likely to come true if your dream is written down than if you don't write it.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. I love hearing stories about when it started, because it just seems to be a common theme with people who love log cabins. It's something that starts out on an early age or somewhere young in their life. They get this notion that that's what they want. And then when it comes to fruition, it's just so magical. I mean, that's just what's so awesome about it.
Yeah. And I want to clarify, I didn't get the 100 acres and the mile-long driveway, but we live on 35 acres and it's 7/10 of a mile. So good enough.
Definitely. Well, and it's remote. And I think that's what your heart was after anyway, was just something secluded that still had the outdoors, but it sounds like you're close enough to town that it makes sense for you and your wife to still be able to work, right?
Yeah, it's like best of both worlds. We're close to everything, but we can't see a neighbor.
Yeah, that is nice. Well, so just off subject, what's your favorite outdoor stuff to do? Like, what do you like to do around town?
I love to hunt and I love to fish. It's kind of my favorite things, and
Yeah.
go out to dinner.
Yeah, definitely. Since moving up here, I've only been to Coeur d'Alene twice.
Oh
So
wow.
I haven't gone down there and explored. I need to get down there and explore some more. So altogether, when you kind of came up with your dream, how long was it between the time that you and your wife really started planning it until it really got serious and then even started to happen?
About 10 years. Good 10 years of really, thinking about it and drawing things and having the magazines and that type of thing.
So during the time, was your wife as excited and on board as you were? Did it kind of create any conflict? I mean, did you guys just have the same visions and things just magically worked out, or was there a little like back and forth, I
Oh,
suppose?
always back and forth. There's got to be some give and take, and probably all for the good. But we did work together and get some alignment, and we came up with, I think, something we both are just as happy with.
Yeah, I agree. I know when my husband and I relocated, it was, definitely, it's funny because you both want the end result to be the same, but you just have different ideas on how to get there. So kind of working through those kinks along the way, it's interesting sometimes. It
I
can be.
did mess up though. She wanted logs in the kitchen.
Okay.
And I knew that it was going to be difficult to mount cabinets and that type of thing. So I kind of moved forward without her input, and it was too late. So I got in a little trouble for that one.
Well, it sounds like you can see the logs from the kitchen though, right?
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
all around.
So it's a compromise.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about the journey. Kind of, were there any bumps along the way or, hiccups that you had to work through to get to where, to finally get the house?
Sure. There was a few. Nothing goes perfect. When we were looking for our land, we purchased, or we're in the process of purchasing, what we thought was the ideal parcel. And while we were purchasing that, we recognized that there was another lot for sale attached to the one that we were buying. So we said, okay, let's buy both of them since they were attached, but they were different sellers. And the primary lot that we were looking at was a 20-acre lot, and the seller ended up backing out at the last minute. We got to mutual agreement with the husband, but the wife wouldn't sign. So that fell through, and we were like, shoot, this is where we're going to build the home. And we had this other parcel that went through, and Julie had said, let's sell that. We were dejected and kind of a little upset, and I said, well, let's go and take a look, really take a hard look at the other parcel that we purchased, and it had a long drive into it, and it was just a trail basically. And he said, let's go camping out there. So we camped over a weekend, and it was just a tent, and matter of fact, no, I think we slept out of the back of the Tahoe, and but we barbecued steaks and really enjoyed it, and said, well, let's make lemonade out of our lemons. So the next week I hired an excavator to come up and just clear off an acre where I thought the building site was, and we recognized that it had lake view of Coeur d'Alene. It was just beautiful.
Wow.
And we decided, hey, let's stick with it. So that's what we did.
How cool. It's funny sometimes how things work out almost better than you could have planned for them.
Yeah, and this is a much better location than the other one.
That's great.
Yeah, it really turned out well.
Was it difficult getting the well in? Was there any issue with water or anything like that?
Well was good. We got a super duper producing well, and we didn't have to go very deep, so that worked out pretty well. The driveway being more than a half mile long was intimidating, and that took a while and a fair amount of cost and that type of thing. But it worked out pretty well. It took us about a year to get the infrastructure in, as far as the well, the road, and the septic system.
So where were you staying during all that time?
Now that's a story. and that's part of the reason why I think we were able to do it at such a young age is, we were able to sacrifice and compromise. We both transitioned from the Seattle area at the same time with our current employers. And Julie was the general manager of a retirement community in Coeur d'Alene, and her company moved her over here. My company moved me over here. And during our first 6 months, we lived in the third story of an unoccupied apartment in one of her communities. And then then we rented a home on the South Hill of Spokane, which was, she was working and she said, go find us a place. We got to get out of the retirement community. So I went and found a place, and not in the most desirable part of town. We ended up living there for like a year and a half. And then during our build, we built our shop before the house was done. And we lived the last year in our shop.
Okay, so I've only seen pictures. Is the shop, like when you first pull in, it's the shop, and then you have this kind of driveway up to the house?
Right. Yeah. It's below
Okay.
it's below the house. It's about 150 feet from here down below.
Okay. Yeah. Now I see. All right. Good deal. Yeah. So that I'm sure was able to happen because you hadn't had kids at the time. So that had to make it easier. I have 4 kids, and I couldn't imagine living in a small apartment. That would probably, I think I would go a little stir crazy.
Yeah, we were doing it with a pet bunny. That's the only thing we had to manage.
Well, those are pretty easy. We have a couple of those too. Okay, so then you started the site, and it took you a good year and a half to get the site prep done, and you guys were able to take your time during it, which must have been nice, because it's better than feeling like rushed and everything has to be hurried. And yeah.
Right.
And then, so how did you go about finding your contractor and finding all the people that you kind of put together, to help you? And you were the general contractor, correct?
As a general contractor, I do construction as part of my career. It's not in home building or anything like that. I'm in major mechanical, electrical infrastructure on the commercial and industrial side, but I know the basics. And I know a lot of the contracting community and those type of things. So I had a lot of connections to be able to help us out in that regard. So, went through the process. It was tough because it was during the last housing boom, kind of like what we're going through right now, with not enough contractors, not enough homes. Things are crazy busy. But we did find some, great craftsmen, good contractors, but there were some challenges, and you always have challenges, I think, in construction. It's never perfect. Being, coming from the construction background, though, I guess I anticipate those, or I expect those to be kind of a normal part of the process. So maybe a little more understanding that those things are going to happen.
On that note, do you have any words of wisdom then, based on your experience building and your career experience, for people who might be kind of in the same boat today? What could they do to be mentally prepared, or to kind of walk through that, and what to expect?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. One, I already had that skill set in my toolbox, so that helps. But I did a lot of reading on building log homes, so I had some good, resources, and I actually taught my builders. So my builders didn't really know log homes very well, and I provided them with guides and the resources, and I would photocopy how to do trim for a settling home and those type of things. So that really did help those folks out. That answer your question?
That's an important piece of the pie for sure. Okay, so how did you go about finding your log home company, the crafters that you had build it?
I interviewed 3 different groups. 2 of them were independent log home builders and Caribou Creek. And the 2 independent log home builders, even though they build beautiful homes, it's 1 build per year. They only do 1 home at a time. Their work was good, but insurance was challenging, and their timeline was going to be long. And also, I thought there was a lot of risk with that. And I met with those 2 individuals first to kind of get some background and understanding. And then when I met with you guys and identified, one, you're an established company, you've got the resources. I was able to see, homes that were under build on your site. It ended up being a no-brainer.
Yeah. So how did you decide on like the qualities of your home? There's so many choices, I think, for people to make between Swedish cope versus chink style versus, the timber and the log sizes and all these little bits and pieces along the way. And obviously you had years to give it some thought. What kind of led you through to deciding on what is your house constructed out of?
Yeah, and it is chink style home. We knew we wanted large logs, but we did have the opportunity, which is kind of rare, to get our logs ourselves from the ranch up in Yak, Montana. So they're nice. They're like a 16-inch mean. Some of them are up to 24 inches.
Wow.
So we knew we wanted some large logs, kind of to show that presence. Also, wanted to have a handcrafted home that is unique and nothing's the same size. I'm not a fan of the milled logs. I don't care for that. I love to have the custom hand built home. And as far as the amenities go, I kind of thought of a funny story when you asked the question. I was thinking early on when I'm going through my planning, thinking, oh, the laundry room could have linoleum on the floor and those type of things. But when I got into the build and the garage doors, yeah, we can just do metal garage doors. And as we started getting into really finalizing the design and really getting the picture in our head, recognize that no, you kind of need to have some nicer, more rustic, natural finishes. So yep, there's stone slate in the laundry room, and we have cedar garage doors and all that good stuff. But that was kind of a wake up call for me as I was thinking for my original budget and planning.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that seems to be where people get the most surprise, I should say. A lot of times when they're planning, they're not accounting for those upgrades and those little things. And even though, their question is how much is it per square foot or how much is the house, the log portion. And then, like you said, when you start finishing it out, you realize like linoleum just pales in comparison to the coolness of the logs. You have to upgrade.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you it has to match. It's gotta have to go
Yep.
with the flow.
That's wonderful. Well, you guys did a beautiful job designing it. Did you guys pick out all of like what I love about your house is how everything ties together. You have tile and like this theme that just kind of flows throughout the home. It's not overbearing. It isn't overdone. It's very elegant rather, and really good taste. I mean, did you guys hand select all these things or did you have help?
No, well, we did. I think we just lucked out. uh, we resourced a lot of magazines. I mean, we probably read a couple of hundred of them. Well, looked at the pictures, and really kind of picked out all those different elements that we wanted. And I think we somehow did a good job, and probably give my wife the credit for kind of having that eye for flow and even decorating and those type of things. She's really got a good eye for it.
Yeah, definitely. I especially like the copper. I don't know if it's copper. It looks copper to me, but
It
like
is,
the railing, is it copper?
yeah.
I really, what a cool idea. And I like how it ties in around the logs at the base, like a baseboard around the logs. I don't even think I would have thought about doing something like that. And it looks stunning.
Yeah, kind of a funny thing. When I knew that I had a plan for the spindles for all of the railing. We had railing all over, inside and out, and I think we got 300 lineal feet of railing, and we wanted to, get to where we could move in the house. I hadn't figured out what my design was, and I ended up putting in chicken wire in all the railings, and it was a chore actually, staple all that in. But I did that to get certificate of occupancy. It passed. The inspector didn't like it very well. He was like, "Well, I can't not accept this because you got every square inch covered, and it is theoretically legal." And we did that. And I think he was at the end of the driveway, and I was pulling it out. And ended up, those were projects that we did later, was do the inside and outside. So outside I did this black aluminum, and inside is all copper, polished copper, that I polished all myself and got a spiral design on it by doing it in the drill, and then
Wow.
clear coat lacquered it, and got it in. It was kind of a rewarding, very rewarding project to do.
Yeah, and it's really gorgeous too. It's such a unique thing. You just don't see that anywhere else. Okay, so I know we've like been all over the place. I want to go back to kind of the floor plan. How did you map out the floor plan? You said you'd been drawing it, you'd been pencil sketching some things. You finally decided on Caribou Creek. How did that process evolve?
Yeah, that was fun. We went through again with the magazines and found different floor plans that we liked, and then kind of mixed and matched, and ended up coming up with our own kind of custom layout. And then we had an appointment with you guys after we decided to move forward, and scheduled a design meeting. And I had sent you guys my sketches, and you didn't laugh or throw me out of the place, so that was good. And we sat down after your CAD designer at least had taken the drawings and put it in CAD, and we sat down. It was like a 6-hour session, and went through, and pretty much everything that I'd put down was represented in this design, which was really cool. And you guys added some suggestions, because I didn't put in covered porches, and maybe the how deep the eaves are, and obviously some structural posts that needed to be there, because we couldn't have a completely open floor plan. But you guys did an awesome job in regards to putting that together, and reflecting what our plan was.
That's great. And part of your floor plan design was to have a mother-in-law suite off of, or I suppose that's what they call it, a guest suite off of the home, and you have that in over the garage, but that has access to the main house. Is that right?
Yep, it
Yeah.
does. So our plan was to build the guest suite, because we thought Julie's mom was potentially going to move in with us. Her dad had recently passed just before we started our build, and we didn't think she was going to manage the ranch. So we said, hey, we'll build a place for her to live. And we built that fully, complete. So it's got its own washer and dryer, outside entrance, full kitchen, the whole 9 yards. And we built it so that like it's two houses joined by our foyer, and even the light fixtures inside the foyer match the outdoor fixtures. And we did cedar lap siding above the logs on both, so it's almost like it's two houses that were built separately, with the foyer then built in to attach the two together.
That's nice. I mean, that gives them this privacy basically, and
right.
You also.
Right, exactly. And we use it, when family comes to visit or guests come to visit, it's great, and they can be over there and have their own space and feel more comfortable, and we're not sharing the same refrigerator and that type of thing. So it works out really well. It's a real nice amenity to have.
Yeah, I bet it is. Okay, so speaking of amenities, after you got everything finished, hindsight obviously being 2020, is there anything you would do different if you could redo it?
Yeah, there's, I think we did a pretty doggone good job. There's, in the things that I think that we would add are more luxury type items. I think the mechanical system, even though the mechanical system is great, it's a propane boiler with in-floor heating. So really good comfort and efficiency. I would like to have done a geothermal, just because they're a higher level of efficiency, but I think I was rushed, because as you're talking about those design elements, as my contractors are working, I'm trying to figure out which way do I want the tongue and groove to go. I mean, every element I was having to figure out. So that was a little challenging. The other thing I wish I'd put in, which I still could, is a whole house generator. That would have just been a nice amenity to have. A mechanical room and a little wine cellar are probably the things that I would probably do in the next build.
And a bigger shop, right?
Oh yeah, and a bigger shop, of course. So I can't get my boat in it.
Sure. You never have a big enough shop.
That's for sure.
So, and I know that power grid thing is important, especially out here. It seems like power goes out and sometimes it could be out for a few days and you don't know when it might come back on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We did put in a generator transfer switch,
Okay.
so I could take a portable generator and still power everything we need in the house. So when that does happen, we have heat, we have lights, refrigerators and freezers work. So it
Does your
all,
well work off of that?
yep, the well does as well.
That's great. I need to get one of those. When our power goes out, we're out. We're out.
Yeah, you want water.
Yeah. So after all said and done, do you have a favorite part of your house?
Wow. Yeah, probably the shower.
Yeah. Is it, well, I have it. What size is your shower?
It's like I don't know, 6 foot by 6 foot square on the inside.
That is nice.
And yeah, it's all stone, and it's stone that Julie and I went and picked out of the mountains. Just slate and that's just kind of a nice. It's a walk-in, no shower curtain. It's just a nice amenity I like. There's other parts, obviously the great room and the kitchen and how that all flows together and how open it is another element.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing just to add, about the log home and why a log home and what I love about it is it's in some sense really fancy, but you can also come in with your hunting boots on. It's kind of our personality. It's down to earth. Flannel shirt, kind of comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Warren, I didn't realize you guys had so much of your house that you've put your heart into. I mean, picking the logs from the ranch your mother-in-law was staying at. I mean, that is a connection right there. You've picked out your stone. You hand polished the copper. That is just such an amazing, I don't know, it changes the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's no longer just a house, it's a home, it's part of you. And I understand you've toyed with selling it. How did you come to that after all of that?
Yeah,
I guess
I
emotion goes
know.
into it at that point.
I'll cry when it sells.
I can imagine. I bet.
That's for sure. It's just, kind of transition time of life, looking to retire. And, it's two of us in a 5,500 square foot home. So she's always trying to recruit me to help clean on the inside. And I always think there's a lot of things to do outside. So it's just a thought of the next chapter. Now we'll probably build again in our next chapters, very, very likely, just similar but smaller.
Mm-hmm. I meant to ask you, what species of log did you end up with?
They're Engelmann spruce.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah. So is your home currently listed or is it one of
It
the
is.
things you're just kind of, oh, it
Yep.
is.
It just
Okay.
listed it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, we'll
Yeah.
link it into the show notes for anybody who's listening if they're interested. Um, yeah, now I'm sad for you. I didn't even know all of this. Like I'm so first of all, your home is so beautiful. It's one of the first ones when I started working at Caribou. I said, "Oh, these pictures are gorgeous." I have it as a backdrop on my computer because I live in a log home. My dream was to live in a log home, and I'm planning my next home as a new construction too.
Awesome.
So I look at all the floor plans and I think about it. Well, it's also one of the most popular homes, and to hear all of the things that you guys have put into it, it just makes it even more special. And I can only imagine what a treat somebody will have to be able to carry that torch, so to speak. And hopefully it's somebody who loves log cabins as much as you guys.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I mean, this has just been a wonderful story, and I'm just truly grateful. I'm grateful to have the chance to talk to you. I hope this has been equally rewarding.
It has been. Likewise. Really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and link the notes to your listing. And,
Okay.
do you have any last words of wisdom for people who are out there maybe they're in the beginning stages, they're still in the dream phase, maybe some words of encouragement.
Yeah, you can absolutely do it. We were regular working folks that we were smart with our finances and make sure we saved well, but just regular good professional jobs, and we did some hard sacrifices in regard to like where we lived, along the way and during the build, and doing as much as we could ourselves. But if you have the dream and you've got the drive and passion, you can definitely do it.
Wow. Well, thank you. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of My Dream Log Cabin. Until next week.